Ever open a blank project and suddenly all that creative energy just drains away while you scroll through sounds and presets? Yeah, I've been there. But I've got a system which you can put into place to save you hours of frustration and actually get you finishing tracks. It all comes down to separating your sound design from your songwriting. I call it create mode and create mode. On create days, you build your toolkit. Drum racks, synth patches, samples, whatever inspires you to create music. Then on create days, you've already got everything prepped, so you can focus on the fun part, turning ideas into full tracks without breaking your flow. On the last video, I showed you how to iterate to create multiple synths that you can use in your tracks. But synths on their own won't get us far. We want to create some drums which have some character and weight behind them. So here's a trick: borrow like an artist. I'll pull in a couple of reference tracks, listen closely, and build drum racks that capture the same vibe. That way, I'm not starting from scratch. I've already got sounds that feel right for the style I'm making. Here, I've dropped in 4 4-bar drum loops that I like. Using EQs, I can isolate specific drum elements that I want to replicate. Then, I'll load in a drum rack and bring across any samples that fit the vibe that I'm after. So for this George Cunning loop, I've created a drum rack like this. With drum racks, we can create effects chains inside each sound, so that we're not affecting everything globally. Here I can sculpt sounds now, so I'm not tweaking them later in the arrangement. For example, I can shorten the sample and fade it out to tame the tail. I've also tried to recreate the drum groove with the sounds that I've brought in, so that I can tweak them to borrow as much from the tonality of the original loop as possible. We can do that via the samples parameters, or with a drum bus, saturation, erosion, and EQing to remove any unwanted frequencies. Now I have a solid drum rack I can draw from in the creation stage, so let's save that and move on. Same process again, select sounds, then sculpt for tone and feel. As you can hear, I've got the clap and hat dialed. Now for the bongo-like elements. I'm using this tabla sample as a starting point. First it needs to be higher, so I'll bump it up 7 semitones. Next, a drum bus to give some punch and body to the mid-ranges. And after a second listen, I'll bump it up 2 more semitones. Now it's pretty much there. Great. Now another drum rack to add to our crate of sonic goodies. And now with my crates filled, I can jump into a new project and get creating straight away. There's no right or wrong order. We're ideally not tweaking the synths much, so we can stay in a flow state. I'll quickly bring in a kick loop that I've used before for a driving beat. Then I'll drag in the synths we created, moving them to the right of the loop bracket. One by one, I'll drop them in. It's nice to have parts come in and out, so don't be afraid to double or quadruple the length and experiment beyond the 4 bars. It's about finding an interplay between the elements. I like how this main synth sounded at both 4 and 7 semitones, so instead of changing the melody, I automated the tuning to move between the two. From here, I have more of the melody of the loop, which informs other choices, like shifting some of the synth notes to fit the progression. I'll do this again and add more elements from another synth exploration session. Having multiple sound exploration sessions is where this process really shines. Each session starts from a different place and a different mindset, so you'll create different results. Pulling from multiple sessions gives you a broader palette to effortlessly generate loops. Think of it this way: 6 sessions with 6 sounds each equals 6 unique combinations for 6 tracks. Anyway, back to the focus, creating our 8-bar loop. With my synth elements in place and a melodic progression sketched out, I can then bring in a bass to follow the progression. I'm adding some shorter, dotted notes to bring some much needed energy to the track. Okay, now let's look at the drums. So let's first think about the driving elements, a hat and a clap, which I'm going to grab from the second drum rack that we created. Now for some more melodic drum elements. I'll be honest with these, I find I get a cooler pattern if I just put in random MIDI notes and then tweak it as I go. I'm looking to make it quite jaunty, so I'll try to offset the groove from the kick and the hat. After we have our elements blocked out, we can then go in and clean up our sounds, adjusting levels, EQing out any unnecessary frequencies. It's nicer to do this now, while we only have an 8-bar loop, as opposed to a full track. Also, elements we didn't use here can still work in late sessions. Having extra synths and sounds is never a bad thing. And here we go. It's by no means perfect, as I was trying to move through quickly to keep it nice and concise. I also had another go on a separate day with the same elements and got this. Just goes to show that with the right tools, unique loops can come together with little effort. So try it, separate your sound design from your song creation, and you'll find yourself in the flow state for way longer, creating way more tracks.